Hi, I'm Angie, and I'm so lazy. Hey everyone, it's Angie here with the Gamer Crafting Podcast, and today we're going to talk about laziness. I cleared off my couch before I started filming, and there's still stuff all over it. There's a giant pile here, northeasterly, that I haven't actually decided to find a spot for. I've got stuff just out of frame there. I've got a giant pile of laundry that's been there for 4 days and I haven't put away yet. I've got a tin of Danish butter cookies that I totally bought just for the tin. I wonder what I'm going to put in this sewing kit. I've got books here that I started reading months ago and are just kind of like chilling and abandoned. There's a hanger on my couch and I don't know why it's there. Why is there a hanger here? Where did this come from? When did I last buy something that had a hanger come with it? I don't even know. I've got a to-do list that's as long as the length of my arm that I've just decided I don't feel like doing right now. I've got an entire year's worth of planning that I need to get through, and I've done maybe 3 pages. I've done maybe 3 pages out of the whole thing. I guess that just means I'm lazy, right? Here's the thing. Human brains are complex. We definitely use more than 10% of them, as multiple studies have since disproved that little myth. But brains are so complex, we don't even know what they're doing most of the time. I'm pretty sure we probably know more about space than we do about our own brains. Maybe we can even do some telepathy, who knows. Human brains are able to do really amazing things. You know, we create art out of almost anything that we have to do for survival. Cooking, that's an art form. Having to wear clothing to keep our bodies protected and warm, that's also been turned into an art form with, you know, with high fashion. Or street fashion, which is becoming more and more popular if you're into that sort of thing. Obviously, I'm sat here in some super amazing Captain Marvel pajamas, so I don't know if I'm quite the street fashion icon y'all are looking for. The other thing is brains can get sick, just like our bodies can get sick. You get a cold, you get the flu, you break your arm, sprain your ankle. Fun fact, I once really sprained the hell out of my ankle playing freeze dance with a 4-year-old when I used to work at summer camp. That was fun. So if you find yourself staring into the abyss instead of doing whatever it is you're supposed to be doing, you're not lazy. You're probably just overwhelmed. Or maybe you have executive dysfunction, which, for those who aren't aware, executive dysfunction basically means that the part of your brain where you think, I should get up and put that laundry away, and then you don't, and you scroll through Facebook for another hour, and then you go, damn, I should put that laundry away. Executive dysfunction is the part of your brain that tells you to actually get up and do the thing, and sometimes it doesn't work right. Or, you know, maybe you're depressed. Maybe you're overwhelmed, maybe you have anxiety, maybe you're just freaking busy. So brains need time to process information. One of the most interesting studies that I read when I was in university was a study that said when practicing a new piece of music, voice, instrument, doesn't matter. When you're learning a new piece of music, if you practice for an hour and then you stop practicing, and then you go home and you have a full night's rest, good night's sleep, and you come back to the next day, your brain continues to process the information while you're asleep. It's one of the reasons why we need sleep. And that actually, if you practice for an hour, go home and get a good night's sleep, you end up becoming better at the piece of music than if you were to practice for 3 hours and go home and get a mediocre night's sleep. So our brains need time to process information. You need time, you need sleep. But the thing is you're going to need more time to process information if you're sick, if you're stressed out, if you're depressed, if you're busy, because your brain is already then like tied up processing all this other information. It's going to be difficult for you to process information if you're already processing tons of information. Have you ever tried to download 15 things at once on your computer? It's like, no. But if you download one thing at a time, you know, it's okay. It goes pretty well. It's, you know, it downloads and you can move on to the next thing. But trying to do it all at once, it does not go well at all. It takes way longer than it would have if you just let the computer focus on one download at a time. And honestly, it's a pretty good parallel for how our brains work. I know that some of us are good at multitasking and maybe even enjoy multitasking, but a lot of studies have shown that multitasking isn't actually the best way to get stuff done. That you're going to be a lot faster and more efficient if you just focus on one thing at a time. Obviously, this is just in controlled environments. Not everybody has those luxuries. If you're a mom, you're going to have to multitask, probably whether you like it or not, because you're going to be having to chase your kid around and think about a million different things at once. I mean, most of us have to multitask anyway, regardless of whether or not it's been found in controlled studies to be more efficient or productive. I'm just saying, don't multitask yourself into a panic attack. So as long as we're talking about laziness, you know, maybe laziness isn't a thing. Maybe it's just more about making bad decisions. For one thing, I like to say, oh, you know, I don't feel like doing this task that needs to get done today. I don't feel like doing it. That's tomorrow Angie's problem. Tomorrow Angie can deal with the fact that I decided to not do it today. And sometimes maybe that's the right decision. Sometimes that's not the right decision. Sometimes today Angie is being, you know, maybe a little bit selfish and wants to just sacrifice tomorrow Angie's mental health and well-being to just not have to do something you don't want to do today. So, I mean, maybe that's an example of, you know, where I could have made a better decision. I mean, I fully intend on staying in these pajamas. These fabulous Captain Marvel pajamas, I fully intend on staying in them all day. And I'm gonna watch the new season of She-Ra on Netflix, and I'm gonna knit this gigantic chunky blanket, and I'm gonna sit here with a mug of tea and these Danish butter cookies, which are already half gone, and I'm not really gonna do much else. And today that feels like the right decision. I don't know if tomorrow Angie is going to agree with me or not. My guess is probably not. Because tomorrow Angie will be going, it's Friday, I don't feel like doing any work. I want to just, like, you know, go see a movie with my wife. I want to go and chill out. I want to just curl up and read a book. I don't want to have to do all the things that I should have done on Thursday, which, to be honest, should have been done on Wednesday, which, to be honest, probably should have been done on Tuesday, because it's been that kind of a week. But you know what? We make these decisions for a reason. If you're feeling overwhelmed, if you're feeling fed up, if you have had a ridiculously bad week, month, year, decade, you know, sometimes you just have to take a day to say, I'm not doing any of that BS today. I'm gonna sit here and I'm gonna chill out. I'm gonna sit in my, like, I have one of those cushions with, like, the arms, and it's honestly probably the best purchase that I've made for myself this year. The back support is astounding. It's so comfy. It's great for knitting because the back goes up nice and far, so you can just kind of chill out. You still feel like you've got some back support. It's legit. Highly recommended you get yourself one of these overstuffed arm cushion things. Also kind of feels like someone's giving you a hug. It's great. But anyway, sometimes we make these decisions for a reason, right? If you're feeling overwhelmed, if you're feeling fed up, if you're feeling like you cannot handle one more thing today, just chill if you can. If you can. Obviously, I'm in a position of privilege being able to sit here and record this podcast at 9 a.m. on a Thursday in my pajamas. I don't have kids that need me to take them to school. I don't have people that depend on me for care. I, you know, I'm married, but she sorts herself out. She's fine. She doesn't need me. I don't have people who depend on me for things like taking them to school, making them breakfast, dealing with other people's doctor appointments or school transcripts or whatever the issue is. I'm in a position of privilege because I am able to sit here right now and tell you about how you should take a mental health day. Obviously, that's not always the case. A lot of people can't take a mental health day. If you live in the US, maybe, you know, you don't have paid time off. Well, that's the case here too with 0-hour contracts. Maybe you don't have paid time off. Maybe you're not allowed to take sick days. Or if you do have to take a sick day, you're going to get penalized for it one way or another. Maybe they'll cut your hours, or you won't get the promotion that you applied for. I'm in a position of incredible privilege to be sitting here and laying on my couch and saying, yeah, if you need to just chill out and do nothing, then do that. That's obviously not an option for a lot of people. So if you're sitting there yelling at your screen going, well, I don't have the time to be able to sit there and knit all day, then, like, I hear you, and I get it, and I'm getting there. So 2 weeks ago, I had 2 different podcasts that went up that week. There was one that was just about the yarn stuff, projects I'm working on, stuff I want to cast on, yarn I've been dyeing. And the other podcast was about some stuff that's been going on with immigration. I've done a few podcasts about immigration, and you're probably tired of hearing me talk about it, but I'll be honest, it's this like constant presence. If you watch the Moomins, I'll get to that later. If you watch the Moomins, there's a character called the Groke who just kind of like wanders around making sad noises and making other people sad and worried, and like, I don't know, maybe immigration is the Groke in my life right now. It's kind of following me around, making me feel kind of uneasy. And yesterday I got a letter from the Home Office, and it's very official, and I knew that it came from the Home Office, and I opened it feeling very nervous and scared, and it's a letter saying, hey, we got your application that you sent in nearly a month ago. Thanks for that. So yeah. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about capitalism. Specifically, late capitalism, because there's no ethical consumption in late capitalism. I don't say that to be trite or as a way to sort of absolve myself of any guilt so that I can just carry on without any changes to my own behavior or how I interact with brands. It's more just a resigned statement that says, well, we need to change that. We need to change how our economy functions. We need to change how society works so that the earth doesn't end up as like a flaming trash fire in 10 to 15 years. Capitalism says that you should monetize your hobbies. Monetize your hobbies. Obviously, I'm guilty of that. I'm an indie dyer. I discovered that I enjoyed dyeing yarn, and I turned it into a business. A business which pays my bills and is my job. But capitalism says, if you're not coming home from work to then do more work, then you're not doing it right, and any failures that you might come across are then your own fault. And it's not the fault of capitalism, you're just not working hard enough. And who wants to go and spend 8 hours at a job plus commuting time to come home and then work for another 4 hours? First of all, that's unrealistic for anybody who has kids, for one thing, or people who have any kind of disability, or people who just like, damn, like even if you don't have any of that, who the hell wants to work all day and come home and do more work? I've done it. It sucked. I used to commute into London, and so my commute each way was, I don't know, an hour and 15, an hour and 30 minutes if the trains were running on time, which frequently they weren't. So if you're considering, it's almost 3 hours in commuting time a day, plus 8 hours at the office, that's already 11 hours. When I came home, I would try to be working on stuff for the brand new baby gamer crafting business, and like, it was exhausting. I was overwhelmed and overworked and really over emotional. If you're coming home from work every day and getting into the shower to cry for a half an hour to like get it out of your system before you have dinner, like, I'm just saying, maybe something could change. Maybe something's not totally right. When people were asking Jeff Bezos, head of Amazon if you're unaware, what he thought about the working conditions in Amazon warehouses. Well, that was a Freudian slip. Asked him what he thought about the working conditions in Amazon warehouses. He basically said, well, it's not going to be a problem for long because we're going to automate everything. We're just going to get robots to do the picking of orders instead, and then it's not a problem. So just this obsession with efficiency and productivity is just, it's bad for workplace morale, it's bad for workers, it's just The only thing it's good for is for the bottom line of the people who are like all the way at the top of the businesses. It's not for the people who are running around actually doing the picking and packing of the orders, because that's not going to affect their wages. We've determined that trickle down capitalism isn't a thing. Like, in theory maybe, but it just doesn't happen that way. It doesn't work that way. We've gotten to the point where some businesses are giving their employees these like sensors they have to wear around their necks to wear when they're at work, so that the company can track how long they spend in the bathroom for bathroom breaks, how long they spend, you know, making a cup of tea, how long they spend at their coworker's desk chatting with them at the weekend. Like, it records what you're saying, and it's wild. I just feel like we're so obsessed with this idea of productivity and efficiency that we're losing our humanity. And that's really what it comes down to. The thing is, studies have shown that human brains tend to have productivity for 3 to 4 hours a day. 3 to 4 hours a day is kind of your max output when it comes to most things. So in light of all of these studies which have proven this, we're still really tied to this idea of an 8-hour workday, 5 days a week. And I'm saying this as somebody who definitely works more than 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, because I run my own business. I'm always working. As I'm sitting here talking to you, I can see yarn just there on the other side of the camera that needs to be twisted and labeled and photographed, and the listings need to be made and put up on the website. And I don't know if you can see it, but there's a whole bunch of yarn on the table behind me. A whole bunch of yarn on the table behind me, and that all needs to be twisted and labeled and photographed and put up on the website. And that's just the yarn end of it. I spent like 3 hours yesterday trying to sort out how to put up the advent calendar giveaway. I'll drop a link in the description if you want to win an advent calendar. I spent like 3 hours yesterday just with that. So me saying, you know, we shouldn't be tied to an 8-hour workday, well, you know, but also I choose to run my own business. I don't have a boss telling me that I have to work 8 hours. I'm making those choices myself because I want the business, I want the gamer crafting business to do well, and I want to be able to keep doing what I'm doing. So those are decisions that I'm making. Nobody's forcing me to do so. So the thing is, you know, with the whole monetize your hobbies, get a side hustle, the gig economy, monetization comes with a lot of industry BS. And so some of you may know, I went to university for music. I was always really into music, and it was kind of like, it was my thing. It was probably almost unilaterally what I was known for all the way through school. I was in band, choir, and orchestra in high school the whole time, and you know, it was just something that I was just super passionate about. I enjoyed it. I loved it. I loved learning new instruments. I loved learning new pieces of music. I enjoyed practicing. And then I went to university, and like, because the goal for people who graduate from music schools to then be a professional musician, as I was not in the music education department. So obviously the goal there is to then make a living in teaching. I was in the performance department. So it's more about, well, when you graduate, you should be able to go on auditions, and you should be able to go and get professional gigs in productions in order to support yourself as a musician. And that, the amount of nitty-gritty industry BS is what sucked all of the joy out of music for me. And I've not really done much musical stuff since I graduated back in 2012. Because once you're talking about the monetization, you're having to put yourself into an industry and try and fit into what is sometimes quite a narrow definition of what successful looks like. So for example, with music, I was my main instrument was voice. I was a classical vocalist. And so when you're learning to be a classical vocalist, it's not just being able to sing well, it's being able to present in a certain way. And I had so many different people say, oh, well, you're too tall, you're too fat, you don't look feminine enough. And when you go to auditions and stuff, they basically say you have to wear a skirt that comes to this length on your knees, and you have to wear pantyhose that are this color, and heels that look like this and are this color and this height. And it's very, very specific. And if you don't put yourself, if you don't kind of fit into this very narrow idea of what a classical female vocalist should look like, you're not going to get even probably into the audition, much less get cast. And so with trying to monetize something that I was passionate about, it removed the enjoyment for me, because I saw this sort of seedy underbelly of what it looked like. So I'm just saying, if you don't feel like monetizing your hobby, don't. You know, if you really enjoy cross stitch and your family's going, oh, you should sell these on Etsy. Unless you really want to sell them on Etsy, just no, make them for yourself. Because once you start selling things on Etsy, well, are you going to enjoy making the same cross stitch 47 times if you get 47 orders for it? Are you going to enjoy the process of taking nice pictures of it and having Instagram and marketing it? If you're not going to also enjoy that, then it's fine to just have it be a hobby. I guess a hobby for me that's only just a hobby is watercolor painting. I'm not very good at it. Not in an artistic sense. I enjoy it, and some of the stuff that I paint looks pretty decent, but it's not like winning at an art show decent. It's not sell it on Etsy decent, but you know what? I enjoy it, and it's something that I enjoy because it's a cleansing hobby. It's something that I can do without having to feel stressed about it. It's not monetized. I'm not worried about meeting other people's expectations. It's only for me. So as we're talking about side hustles in the gig economy, the reason that most people do that, most of the time when people start a side hustle or take up a side gig, it's because they're not able to quite make ends meet with their 9-to-5 or their main job. That's why I started gamer crafting, is because I was spending probably a quarter of my salary just on getting back and forth to work because the trains were so expensive. And so I wanted to start something to help bring in a little bit of extra money, to help sort of not have every unexpected expense feel like a total crisis, which it can feel when you've got, you know, $20 in the account and your car breaks down. That's not just a minor inconvenience. It just feels like an earth-shattering earthquake of shit. And the thing is, though, minimum wage was initially created to be for somebody who works full-time in a job to support a family and have a house. So that's what minimum wage was originally meant to be. And now people are trying to say, oh, well, minimum wage is only for teenagers. If you're working a minimum wage job, you're probably a teenager. Most people who work a minimum wage, well, this is true in the US. I don't know what the stats are here in the UK, but most people in the US, if they're working a minimum wage, are women. They're women, and specifically they end up being moms, because minimum wage jobs are sometimes the only ones that can be a little bit more flexible to allow them to go pick up their kids. So then we end up in this society where people who are on welfare or on benefits are looked down upon. We have shows on TV here in the UK like Benefits Street, Benefits Britain, On Benefits and Proud, and it's meant to sort of demonize people who are in need of benefits or allowances. And I mean, why? Why are we demonizing people? Why are we demonizing kids who have no control over the environment that they grow up in? Kids don't choose their parents or what their parents do for a living. Kids don't control the economy. Why are we punishing kids that have no control over any of this just because we want to punish their parents? It's cruel. It's cruel. So because we live in this very productivity-driven society then ignores people who can't meet the demands of productivity, which disproportionately are disabled people or mums who can't afford childcare, which is another like huge issue, which obviously doesn't affect me personally, but affects probably most of the people that I know, and certainly everybody I know that has children. So if we're also obsessed with efficiency and productivity, well, I mean, the closer that we get to automating things, the less work there's going to be for people anyway. So what are we going to do then? Are we just going to demonize everyone who doesn't have a full-time job, even though there's not really even that much work to go around? I mean, we have jobs now already that are really kind of only there as placeholders. Like, somebody sits at a desk 8 hours a day, but maybe they only do, like, I don't know, 2 or 3 hours of actual work, because that's all it takes to get done the task that maybe used to take 8 hours but doesn't anymore because of efficiency. But yet we're making people sit there the whole time anyway. Also, something to point out, in the US anyway, most people on welfare or benefits, they already have jobs, and most of them already have full-time jobs. But the thing is that because those jobs are minimum wage, it doesn't pay people enough to support themselves, much less a family. They can't make rent with their minimum wage full-time job. They certainly can't pay for groceries or electric bills or, you know, their kids' soccer uniform. Okay, I feel like I'm getting a little off track as to what I actually kind of wanted to talk about today. And what I wanted to talk about is, well, how do we maintain our own mental health and sanity in the face of this just like burning trash fire of current events? How do we then try to like regain some sense of stability amidst all of this unstable ugh. So obviously one of those things is going to be knitting. Obviously. That's why many of us knit. It's why many of us talk about having mindful knitting projects that you can sort of just turn your brain off and just let the muscle memory take over, you know. So, you know, stuff that's stocking stitch or garter stitch, or like this, it's just a simple repeating pattern. This is the northeasterly. I still haven't fixed this from last week. You can see the hole's gotten bigger. I can fit my head through it now. Knitting is one way that a lot of us deal with trying to just regain some sense of stability in our lives. Just the rhythm of it, or crochet. You know, I don't want to leave out any crocheters. Knitting, crochet, yarn crafts in general, crafts full stop in general. It's a way of being creative and a way that maybe doesn't interface with the stresses that you have in your day-to-day lives. So, you know, knitting, it's a good thing. I fully intend on sitting on this couch with my Captain Marvel pajamas and knitting the rest of the day and watching the new season of She-Ra on Netflix and drinking tea and eating Danish butter cookies, and that's all I intend on doing because I don't feel like I can handle really much else this week, although I probably will edit this podcast, so if you're seeing this, know that I did at least do that. Another thing that people do to try and escape not the doldrums of life, but just like the manic, overscheduled, overworked, underpaid, you know, under mentally nourished, as lots of people read. As for me, I'm finally getting around to starting this book. It's called Memory Called Empire, and it's a space opera. And I bought this book for Sarah for her birthday back in July, and she read it, and she's been nagging me to read it so that we can talk about it. So I guess I should start. I mean, I'm not gonna ever actually finish it unless I start it. So I'm actually gonna start this, given that I just finished Spooklights 2, which is a collection of Southern Gothic short stories by Eden Royce, and I read the first one just before and then immediately bought the second one. So if you like sort of gothic-y short stories, definitely check out Spooklights and Spooklights 2 by Eden Royce. It's fantastic. This book is by Arcady Martine, or Arcady, I might be pronouncing her name wrong. So space opera, here for it. I'm gonna start this. I just finished that other one, and then on audiobook I've been listening to Gideon the Ninth, which was recommended to me, and I've also really been enjoying that. If you're wondering how is it, you know, I watch some booktubers and they read like 5 or 6 books at a time. I can just about manage reading a book and listening to a different one. I can just about manage that. I don't think I could manage 5 or 6. I think that would feel overwhelming to me for sure. And when I listen to an audiobook, it's usually during the day. It's usually when I'm dyeing yarn or twisting yarn, or sometimes if I'm working on knitting to a deadline like this, I'll just pop some headphones on and I'll listen to the audiobook, and then when I actually like read either a paper book or on my Kindle, because ebooks are good too. I'm not here for the militant paper book brigade. There's only so much room that we have for paper books and we're out of it, so I say that holding a paper book in my hand, but that was, to be fair, I bought this before I bought the I bought this before we bought the Kindle. So that's what I've been reading, and that's a way that I sort of try and recharge, I guess. I don't like, you know, saying that too much because we're not, I mean, I guess we're kind of like batteries, but we're not replaceable like batteries. You know, batteries will eventually, like, you know, die. I mean, I guess humans eventually die too, but all right, my point is that I don't want anyone to feel so overwhelmed and overworked and stressed out that they just stop being able to recharge. I don't know, that analogy made more sense in my head. So, you know, knitting, reading, and then sometimes just like going outside. We spend a lot of time here in the apartment. You can tell because it's messy. I cleaned off the couch kind of, but I didn't really clean anything else. Like, I don't know if you can see it, but there's definitely a bag of chocolate sitting on the desk back there. Because sometimes that's how I have to get through an afternoon. It's just like mainlining tea and chocolate. Otherwise, like, the work's not gonna get done if I can't bribe myself to stay at the desk. But sometimes you just have to like get out of the apartment. You have to get away. I mean, especially for us, because our work is here too. So, I mean, I look around, you know, like I said before, there's yarn there that I can see that needs to get done. There's yarn over there that needs to get done. There's a box here that's been here for like 2 weeks that has, I think that this is the candles that I ordered on Etsy, but I'm not totally sure. I'm pretty sure that's what it is, you know, and other things that just need to get done. Sometimes you just have to get away from seeing what needs to get done. You need to just be in a different environment where you don't feel responsible for it. You don't feel responsible for being like, oh, well, I can see that there's dishes in the sink. I should probably go and do that, because sometimes that makes you feel lazy. We've already established that lazy isn't really a thing, but it's still something that we can feel. For sure, we can feel like we're not reaching the heights of our own potential. And sometimes if you're sitting on the couch knitting and you can see dishes in the sink, you're thinking, well, damn, I should be over there doing the dishes. I shouldn't be sitting here knitting. And then you feel guilty, and the guilt for taking some time for yourself just eats away with you, and like, damn, can we just stop them? Just stop it. We're entitled to some recharging time. We're entitled to take time for ourselves without feeling guilty for it. Damn it. So, on that note, last Thursday? Friday? I don't even remember. Last week, Sarah and, no, it was on Sunday. Sarah and I decided, we bought tickets to see Hannah Gadsby in London. If you don't know who Hannah Gadsby is, she's a comedian. She did a special on Netflix called Nanette, which was amazing. So we decided to get tickets to go to the one in London, and as we were going to be in London, we decided to stop in Camden, and we decided to go to the Moomin shop, which we've been talking about doing for, I don't know, probably months now, and it just always seemed like, oh, we'll go this week, oh, well, we have to do this, oh, we'll go this week, well, we have to do this. And a lot of that actually has been because of immigration related stuff. Oh, we're gonna go, oh no, we have to go and do biometrics ASAP. Oh, well, no, we have to put the paperwork together. So we finally were able to go, and we went to Camden, and it was wall to wall people. It was so busy. I know it's, you know, our fault for going there on a weekend. And it was also the Dia de los Muertos festival in Camden, which I didn't know was going on. I just didn't even think about it. And so it was wall-to-wall people, which was a little bit stressful. We got to the Moomin shop, and it was really fun. It was just this nice sort of bubble of happiness amidst what's been a very stressful couple of months, weeks, months, I don't know. Time is a construct. You know, and we each got, you know, a mug. Like, I got a mug with a groke on it and some Hattie Fatteners. And I know I made some weird analogy earlier in the podcast about the groke being immigration, but I feel like I'm the groke. Like, I'm just like this big sad thing that sometimes just wanders around looking for some light. And also the Hattie Fatteners, which are these weird, like, glowy popsicle stick things. And I don't know why. I think it's just a made up word, Hattie Fatteners, but it's a really funny one to say, so I'm here for the Hattie Fatteners. If you haven't watched Moomin, it's lovely. The 90s cartoon is cute, and the sort of CG animation reboot is also very cute, and it's just, and we watched a video about the Moomin shop before we went, and one of the people who, I don't know if he just works there or if he is a part owner or whatever, but anyway, in the video he was saying that most people who go into the Moomin shop are basically, they're adults, people my age or people older or whatever, and he was basically saying it's because he thinks Moomin was, like, the Moomin books were written by Tove Jansson, and she wrote them in the midst of of World War II. So they were written in this very tumultuous, very stressful, turbulent time. And now that we are in stressful, tumultuous, turbulent times again, people are turning back to things that are sort of a little light in the darkness while still remaining this connection to how things actually are in the real world. And I think that's probably why we've been really enjoying it, to be honest. So we got a couple of, you know, got a couple of mugs and some notebooks and stuff, and we, you know, we had some food, and then we saw Hannah Gatsby, which was really fun, and we came home and then needed a recovery day. I almost needed a recovery day because we just were like, wow, that was a lot. And that seems silly, doesn't it, to be like, oh, we went and did something fun and then we needed a recovery day for it. But London can be it can be a little bit stressful if you're not sort of calloused against it, which I was when I was commuting every day, but I'm certainly not anymore. But I mean, as much as we talk about, you know, self-care and all this, I kind of think that as a society we also need to detach the idea of self-care from this idea of consumption, especially with, you know, fast fashion, which, you know, most of us will know causes huge amounts of negative environmental impact. And, you know, that's, I mean, so I mean, if you feel like you need some self-care, maybe, you know, I know I'm saying this holding a mug that I bought the other day, but but you know, if you're feeling that you need some self-care, maybe, you know, go for a walk instead of buying something that you're only going to wear once or twice before you chuck it away, which, I don't know. Anyway, that's all I'm going to say about that, because that could be a whole nother podcast talking about fast fashion and overconsumption and how it's marketed to be self-care. Anyway, like I said, that's a different podcast that I would need to do a little bit more research for before I start rambling on about that. So to kind of start to kind of close things up, I guess I would say, you know, if you're feeling overworked, overwhelmed, stressed out, you gotta get some sleep. Like, folks, you gotta prioritize getting a good night's sleep. I know it's not always easy, especially if you have people who depend on you for care, especially if you have demanding jobs with rotating shifts. Like, I get it. It's not always easy to prioritize it, but like, you gotta prioritize it when you can. Brains need sleep. I know that for me personally, my own personal cocktail of mental illness, way worse if I don't get enough sleep. If I don't get enough sleep, I am basically just, I can't get anything done. I can't focus on anything. I feel really agitated. I lash out. I don't get anything done, and I don't even enjoy doing things that I enjoy. So when I don't get enough sleep, it's not like I can just sit on the couch and do a little bit of knitting and watch TV. I just I don't know, I just like short circuits my brain, and I'm not able to do anything properly. I'm not able to focus even on stuff that I enjoy. I just kind of just freak out a little bit. So you gotta get some sleep. You have to prioritize it. And we all have to learn to check in with ourselves, which again is challenging when you're really busy. It is super challenging to learn to check in with yourself. It's a skill that has to be learned. It's not something that we're innately born into. And in fact, I would say that it's kind of socialized out of us because we're all so conditioned for efficiency and productivity and performance and excellence that we're sort of conditioned out of being like, can I keep pushing at this level or will it result in a crash? Because obviously if you crash, you can't keep being efficient and productive and striving for excellence and all of these other platitudes that we get at places that we work. You have to learn to check in with yourself. I have to do it. Everyone has to do it. I'm not always good at it, for sure. There are times where I think, no, I have to get this done. It has to get done this week because, I don't know, the sky will fall if I don't get it done. And I push so hard that then I can't do anything for several days after because my brain has short-circuited. And that could have been avoided if I would have just listened to my internal cues being like, take a nap! Have a biscuit. Like, sometimes you have to take a nap and have a biscuit, and that's what I intend to do today. So this whole podcast is basically too long, don't read. People aren't lazy, people are overwhelmed, people are overworked, people are stressed out, people are sick. Stop beating yourselves up for having fleshy human brains instead of super cooled supercomputers in your noggin. Like, brains are mostly made of what? Like fat and the stuff that makes up electrical tissue, neurons and stuff, jiggling around in your skull. We're not computers. We can't be modded. We've got to just do what we can with what we've got. I mean, we can do our best to get better and to learn new things, of course, but there's only so much that your brain can take before it's just gonna go poof. Although, you could say that about computers as well. There's only so much you can do to a computer before it's gonna go, nope, hard reset, and then you get the blue screen of death if you're on a PC, or the spinny beach ball of doom on a Mac, and you're like, well, pushed it too far. Should have taken it in for a service when it started doing that weird thing 6 months ago where it wouldn't start up right away. But I thought, nah, it's fine, and so you keep using your computer and you keep making it run really, you know, processor heavy programs until finally one day your computer looks at you and goes, not today, Satan. But seriously, go for a walk today. Learn a new hobby. There's lots of YouTube videos on different hobbies. It's basically how I've been on my watercolor painting journey. I've not taken any classes for it in person or formally or anything. I've just been watching YouTube videos and getting ideas that way. So take care of yourselves. You're not lazy. You're probably just stressed out, and that probably can't be fixed by watching a podcast. Sorry, if I was Empress of the World, I would, I don't know, probably mess things up. You're not lazy. You're probably just stressed out. You're probably overworked. Give yourself a break. Stop being so hard on yourself. I'm telling you this because I need to tell myself this, especially lately. That's it. I will have links in the description for the advent calendar giveaway, and that's it. Have a lovely week / end whenever you're watching this, and we'll be back on Saturday with a live stream as always. And on this Saturday's live stream, so Saturday the 9th, I think, we're giving away an advent calendar during that live stream, and we're probably going to be playing some just chill, fun games. So come and have fun, chill game time. And I'm gonna go edit this, and it's probably gonna take forever because I kept stopping to do things like, yeah. Anyway, bye!